Hey guys, welcome to B.A.S.H Sports. This is 2021 NFL Mock Draft Part 3. If you guys haven't watched Parts 1 and 2, I highly recommend you guys to watch it so you know which players are taken off the board. This is 2021 NFL Mock Draft, picks 17 to 24. With the 17th pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. Last year, the Raiders had the most expensive offensive line in the NFL, consisting of Rich Incognito, Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, Colton Miller, and Trent Brown. Out of those five, Trent Brown got traded to the Patriots, and Gabe Jackson and Trent Hudson got released. This leaves huge holes to fix on that offensive line, and a good way to start this rebuild is by drafting Darrisaw. Darrisaw is a flexible O-lineman with quick and smooth feet, which will help against quick pass rushers like Von Miller, Frank Clark, and Joey Bosa, who are all elite pass rushers in the AFC West division. The Raiders spend a lot on their talented O-line. But now that the O-line isn't there anymore, the Raiders have to draft well to replace them, and Darrisaw is a solid start. With the 18th pick, the Miami Dolphins select Jaelan Phillips, defensive end out of Miami. Jaelan Phillips had 21 solo tackles, 8 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. The Dolphins, with their first pick, got a playmaker for Tua in the form of Jamar Chase. Now they work on the defensive side of the ball. Last year, the Dolphins were a top 10 defense, and they have a terrific secondary with the likes of Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. But they could use some help on the D-line, especially a pass rusher, and this is where Phillips comes in. Phillips is arguably the best edge rusher in this year's draft, with a great combination of length and speed. Additionally, he's a hometown kid playing college football at Miami. All of this makes Phillips the perfect player to draft and pair with Christian Wilkins. With the 19th pick, the Washington football team select Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. The past 4 years, the football team picked all D linemen in their first round, and that proved to be a successful formula. They were a really good defense, getting 47 sacks and their first playoff berth since 2015. Their offense, on the other hand, struggled the whole year, with Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin, and Antonio Gibson being the only consistent performers. They also didn't have a consistent quarterback, either due to injuries or poor playing. In free agency, they did get Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is a solid quarterback, and they brought in Curtis Samuel to pair up with Terry McLaurin. But they didn't find and bring in a successor to Trent Williams, who got traded to the 49ers last year, until now. Tevin Jenkins is a strong lineman with great body control. He could be the missing piece the football team needed to finally have a winning season. With the 20th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Virginia Tech. Caleb Farley had 14 solo tackles, 0 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, and 12 pass deflections in the 2019 season because he opted out for the 2020 season due to COVID. The Falcons secondary was a mess last year. In free agency, they lost arguably their 2 best players on defense, who are Keanu O'Neal and DeMonte Kizzy, along with their secondary coach, Joe Witt Jr. All 3 of them, along with their former head coach Dan Quinn, who was fired after Week 4, are now with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Falcons need to start rebuilding their secondary, and they do it by selecting cornerback Caleb Farley. Farley was arguably the best corner in the draft because he had everything needed in a corner: the size, the speed, the physicality, and the intelligence. He had it all, but he opted out last season, and to make matters worse, he went through back surgery over this offseason, which dropped his draft stock. But if he can stay healthy, he could be the steal of this draft. With the 21st pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota. Bateman had 36 receptions, 472 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. This offseason, quarterback Philip Rivers retired, and in turn, the Colts traded a couple of picks to get Carson Wentz, reuniting him with his former coach, Frank Reich. They have 3 good running backs and a solid offensive line, boasting one of the greatest O-linemen in the league currently, who is Quentin Nelson. They also have a good defense with DeForest Buckner, Darius Leonard, and Xavier Rhodes. One thing they need to improve though is their receiver core. They have Michael Pittman, who is a solid wide receiver 1, who had a great rookie season last year. But behind him, it's kinda bland. T.Y. Hilton is past his prime, and lately he has been struggling with injuries. And this is why Rashad Bateman is a great pick. Bateman has good hands, good route running, and solid speed. He will be another weapon for Carson Wentz, who was looking to revive his career after a horror season with the Eagles last year. With the 22nd pick, the Titans select Azeez Ojulari, linebacker/edge defender for Georgia. Ojulari had 18 solo tackles, 5.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 0 interceptions. Last year, the Titans lost in their first round against the Ravens. They could not stop Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who ran for 136 yards against them. A part of this was the lack of setting edges by the Titans' edge rushers. That was the reason the Titans signed Jadeveon Clowney last year, who is also a linebacker who can play edge defender. Unfortunately, Clowney was a bust with a combination of both injuries and poor play. This is where they can use Azeez Ojulari. Ojulari has a good build and impressive speed, but he is a little raw. So he can sit behind Denico Autry, who is 30 years old and was picked up by the Titans in free agency this past year. In a couple of years, Ojulari can be starting alongside Jeffrey Simmons in what the Titans will hope to be a ferocious pass rush. With the 23rd pick, the New York Jets select Greg Newsome II, cornerback out of Northwestern. Newsome had 8 solo tackles, 0 forced fumbles, 1 interception, and 9 pass deflections. With their first pick, the Jets picked quarterback Zach Wilson, who they believe to be their franchise quarterback. In free agency, the Jets added wide receiver Corey Davis to an already solid receiver core that included the likes of Denzel Mims, Jamison Crowder, and Braxton Berrios. Now that they added talent to the offense, it is time to add talent to the defense, and that's what they do here by picking Greg Newsome. The Jet safeties are pretty solid, but they need a true shutdown corner. Newsome is that shutdown corner. One problem with him is that he has relatively stiff hips and he gets penalized a lot for pass interference. But all of this can be improved, and he for sure has the potential to be that shutdown corner the Jets are looking for. With the 24th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Kwity Paye, defensive end, Michigan. Paye had 12 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, and 0 interceptions. The Steelers last season started out 11-0. They looked poised to make a deep playoff run with that number 3 overall defense until they didn't. In Week 12, they lost to the football team, and since that game, their performance started declining with multiple losses. During free agency, the Steelers lost starting edge rusher Bud Dupree to the Titans. They need an edge rusher, which they get by drafting Paye. Paye is a fast and explosive edge rusher with quick hands and excellent flexibility. Some of his weaknesses are play recognition and production. Paye has great traits, but he can't use them to create sacks or tackles. But what better way to improve than go to the Steel City, who have a reputation of developing elite pass rushers. Paye has potential to start alongside Pro Bowler TJ Watt to create the most frightening pass rushing duo in the league. Alright guys, thanks for watching 2021 NFL Mock Draft Part 3, Picks 17 to 24. Stay tuned for 2021 NFL Mock Draft Part 4, which will be coming out soon. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel.